Tim, this is Danny Smith. Just calling to tell you how much I appreciate listening to your shows, Truckers' Voices. It's very informative. I really like hearing the drivers' stories, how they got into the trucking industry and maybe what kind of trucks they started out with. And it's just been a lot of fun, and I would encourage any drivers out there to tune in and listen, call in, be a part of it. It's a great show.
Hey, this is Chuck Lopesiger, and I listen to Truckers' Voices every Thursday evening from 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern on Facebook or YouTube with host Tim Taylor and co-host Steve Brand, because it keeps me informed about the industry and the drivers that keep our country moving forward. Don't forget, Thursday, 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern. Be there.
Hi, this is Scott Post, and I love Truckers' Voices because there's always something entertaining and educational for our industry. And it's also hosted by two of my good friends, Tim Taylor and Steve Brad. Tune in tonight. And in the meantime, be safe out there.
Hey everybody, how you doing tonight? My name's Charlie Demchuk, and I'm here to welcome you to tonight's big show. Y'all sit back, relax, enjoy the show. Tim and Steve got a good one in store for you. So have a good night. We'll see you.
Hi, this is Tony Wainwright. I hope you enjoy listening to Truckers' Voices as much as I do. Now, without any further ado, kick back, kick your shoes off, air your corns out, and get ready to listen to another fine show.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. Hope everybody's doing good out there in trucking land tonight. Hey, I hope you had a good day of trucking today. I hope that you got to where you was going and got back just safely. And you know what? You made every customer experience an outstanding experience out there. We got a good show lined up for you tonight. We got Mr. Jeff Wade with us tonight, and many of you know him. And Jeff drives for Southeastern Freight, and he's been in the trucking industry for many years, but I'm not going to say too much more because I'll be told his story, and I'm going to leave that time for him to tell it there also. But, hey, I want to tell you that if you've been out there on the road today and you've been driving and the weather's been bad, hey, just slow down. Get yourself some space. You know what to do. You are professionals, and we got to create that good image of the trucking industry. So you guys and gals know what to do out there. Hey, I do want to tell you that, let me get this out of the way right here real quick. That the views expressed on this show are those of the host and the guest only and do not reflect those of other entities. Okay. So we got that part out of the way there. And if you're going to make comments tonight, it would be helpful if you would give StreamYard permission to use your name in the comments so we can see your name. All you got to do is go to StreamYard.com/Facebook, and we can see who's making those comments, so that would be most helpful also. But anyway, without further ado, I got to bring the other co-host in here to help me out. That's you, Steve. You're rolling, man, every day.
That's me, baby. I'm rolling up and down that interstate, just promoting safety and trying to promote a good image and everything else. How you doing, Tim? How you doing?
I'm doing good, Steve. Yeah, man. How was your day up there in the Buckeye State?
Well, the weather was pretty good. We got some weather coming in later on this evening. I've been watching the Weather Channel. They got tornado going on up there around Sandusky and Port Clinton, and up there my sister-in-law and brother-in-laws and my in-laws are all kind of west of that a little bit. So I've been kind of watching what's going on, but I think it passed them all right. I hope everybody's okay up there. But we got a little rain coming in. They said it'd get a little windy tonight, but it's not been bad, man. It's not been bad. The humidity's coming in, so You know the storm's coming. But
it's been 2 or 3 days in a row here lately. We have been treading water down here. We got some flood warnings going on down here, so we have got the rain. And man, when I was headed up to Atlanta today, I just ran into a band of clouds, and it was just weird looking the way those clouds were rolling in. And I think there were some tornadoes in some different areas there. So, and we still got some warnings going off. I tell you what, my phone, I have a warning set on my phone that where it calls me. It's called Code Red, and it'll let me know what's going on, you know. But man, that thing went off in the middle of the night last night, and I was like, "Oh my goodness, what's going on?" But yeah, man, if y'all are out there driving in it, please slow down, take your time, you know.
Yep, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. If you can get off an exit ramp, please get off an exit ramp. Don't pull over on the side of the road. That's not good at all. But I understand if that's the only place you got to go. But if you can get off to a safe haven, please do.
Right. Well, you know who we got on the show tonight, Steve?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Jeff's a good guy. I can't wait to hear his story.
Right.
Excuse me.
Everybody that comes on here, man, always has a good story, and every story is different. You know how people got started in the trucking industry, and whether they're first, second, third, or fourth generation, or they're the first generation themselves. It is always neat to hear it. And I'm going to tell you, the listening audience right now, if you want to come on Truckers' Voices, we would love to hear your story.
Yes, we would. Yes, we would. Everybody's got that story, and like you said, everybody's story is different. You know,
right.
And I think everybody has the same two things in mind: make a living for their family, put food on the table, put a roof over their head, but they want to do it safe. You know,
that's right.
And it's interesting to hear it, and man, I can't wait to get started.
Well, Steve, that's a good-looking shirt you got on tonight. I know last time I saw you had on the royal blue. I had on the royal blue, and now you got on the black and white one, man. Look at
I'm telling you, sporting it, baby, sporting it.
Hey, I do want to say a note on that right there. I have had a lot of people that has bought shirts and sent me pictures, and I still got pictures to post. But I want to thank y'all for buying the shirts. The shirts, all the money goes to support the show. It does cost a little bit for the streaming service that I use, but man, I do appreciate everybody that's bought these shirts. And let me say this also at the beginning. If you missed the show tonight, it's going to air again in the morning at 9 a.m. You can listen to it going down the road. You can listen to it on Facebook. Don't look at it, but you can listen to it. Or either you can go to Spotify or either Apple Podcasts. Tomorrow afternoon, it should be uploaded there. So, hey, all kind of options out there to listen to it on, you know. And we're also over there on YouTube also. So you can go to YouTube and listen to it. So, and there's shows. I can't remember exactly how many shows we got up now. 70-something shows that we got listed now. So
that's unreal. It's hard to believe we've got that many shows.
Oh,
that's
yeah.
awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And hey, as long as they keep tuning in, if we keep getting guests on, we'll be here. We will be here. It is pretty wild. You know, 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, I'll just mute my phone, plug it into the old stereo and listen to the podcast again. And it's like, I love that. I love that.
Oh, well, let me say hey to some people here. I want to say hey to Chuck Jernigan. He's listening in. Wayne Campbell's listening in. Bubba Price is watching. Scott Post is watching. Nancy's watching. Ben Ingersoll is watching. Thomas Williams is watching. You know, David Young's watching. So I want to say hello to all those folks right now out there. That's what I've seen on my page over here. But anyway, hey, I think go ahead. If you were looking, do you see who's watching on your page?
Yeah, I got Jim Fisher watching. What's going on, Fish? He won the straight truck class over in Illinois last weekend. Man, it's a good deal. It's a good deal.
Congratulations.
Congratulations to all the winners. Congratulations to all the participants. Real quick, I was up in PA last week with those fine folks. Man, you talk about some good professional drivers. Of course, they're all across the country, but got to spend a couple of days with them. Safety Sammy made an appearance. He was out there.
Right behind you. Right
behind me. But he was live and in the flesh. Man, he's a big hit. Everybody liked him, but man, they had a pretty tough course, challenging course. Like I said, got to talk to a lot of good professional drivers, and congratulate to everybody out there.
Right.
And that's awesome. I love this time of year.
Well, we got some listeners that are right now down in Florida getting ready to compete. I think they did the written test day and they did like a course walkthrough. So they're going to be competing tomorrow. So I want to wish everybody down there that's competing in Florida, good luck. Don't go out there and beat that next person. Go out there and beat that course.
Exactly. It's not it's not your competitor that you're competing against. It's that course.
That's
Don't
right.
let that course beat you, because I'm here to tell you, I let the course get to me in Ohio. That's okay. That's okay. I'm maintaining eligibility so I can be there next year. That's the way it's going to be.
10-4. Well, let's bring Jeff on in here.
Yes,
We
sir.
belabored the point a little bit long enough, so let's bring him on in here. Jeff will give you the proper introduction with the Rocky song there, man, because you are a Rocky in this industry.
Well, man, I appreciate y'all having me on. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, Jeff. And we are, just late. I've been wanting to get you on here for a while, and now we got you on here and we can hear your story. So anyway, how you doing, man?
Doing good. Steve, don't worry about your TDC performance, because I pretty much stunk up the show in South Carolina back into March. So I'm right there with you, brother.
I hear you, man. I hear you. It just, you take a deep breath and you take off. And after you do something, you're like, why did I do that? Well, I mean, it's all good. Hey, the main thing is I did what it took to get there. We all did what it took to get there. We're all winners in our own way right there. And, if you get to go to the big show, that's even more awesome. But, hey, there's next year,
That's right.
There's next year.
So Jeff, tell us who you are. We know who you are, Jeff Wade, and tell us where you're from and who you work for.
I live in Moults Corner, South Carolina. It's a little bit west of North Charleston, the Charleston area. Work for Southeastern Freight Lines, a great family-owned company, the best people in the world, and I can't tell you my story without talking a lot about Southeastern. So you always have to forgive me, because it's just part of my life. And so I've been blessed to be able to work for them for 47 years. Just a great people.
Wow, that's amazing. That's a long career in the trucking industry, and so we applaud you for that. But you know what we're going to do right now? We're going to actually absolutely just give you the platform, let you tell us the story. You take all the time you want, and then we'll come back and we'll ask some questions after that. How about that?
Okay. Well, I got to tell you this. I got a good story, but I'm not real big on blowing my own horn. So I just want to tell you that right out the box. But,
we'll blow your horn.
Yeah, but you talk about first, second, third, fourth generation truckers. I'm a first generation. My dad was Air Force fighter pilot in the Air Force, and we lost him in 2019. Greatest man in the world, but taught us, me and my brothers, a lot of values of hard work. And I actually was working for him. He had a business. I was working in his business when he retired out of high school. I'm retired out of the Air Force, and a buddy of mine from church called me one day right at Daddy's shop, and said, "Hey, Southeastern's hiring dock help. Are you interested in coming to work there?" I said, "No, I'm good. I'm good." And he said, "Well, it starts out full time. This is 1976. It starts out full time and full benefits, and it starts out at $6 an hour." I was making $1.75, so you know what the answer was there. But I started that work dock full time, and that's something that a lot of the old school guys know about, but a lot of the newer guys don't know about. We had one forklift on our dock, and most days it never started up. All the freight was on the floor. There were no pallets. There were no pallet jacks. We had what we call floats when we moved the freight across the dock. It was a lot of manual labor, a lot of hard work. But the opportunity I had working the dock was to be able to work in the yard to set the dock up when we finished our shift, unloading and loading out trailers every day. So basically, taught myself how to back and maneuver trucks in the yard. And back then, just prior to CDL days, you go down and turn 21 years old and go down and get a permit from the highway department and go out and start driving with other drivers. And I did that for 4 days and had a guy come from our corporate office in Columbia, 100 miles away, gave me a road test. I took a written test, open book written test. He signed all the paperwork, and the next day I was on the road driving. But I started out, I did my road test in a 5-speed Maxidine. And if you've never messed with a 5-speed Maxidine, you think, well, it's a 5-speed. It's probably pretty easy to drive. No, wrong answer. It's one of those deals. The RPMs have got to be perfect. If you don't get it perfect, you might as well stop the truck and start all over again. But that's what I did my road test in. And I learned to drive and shift in a white 9,000 10-speed. And once I got a little bit proficient at that, my first real assigned truck was I don't even know what year it was, but a Road Commander cab over, and drove that thing for years. But we worked hard back then. No air conditioning, no power steering, naturally, and the new guys nowadays don't want to hear all that stuff. But man, we worked, and but good job, good opportunities. I actually went and run over the road for a little over a year, somewhere around 1984, I think. And we only ran 3 states back then. We had, I think it was 13 terminals in North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia. That's all we had. But when we run the road at nighttime, terminal to terminal, drop hook, most nights you were in all 3 states. The key to that was 2 things. Number one, speed limit back then was 55 miles an hour. And like I said a while ago, there was no air conditioning. So 55 miles an hour. And we left out on Sunday evening every week. We ran all week, stayed in bunk rooms and hotels, and got back home Saturday morning, normally around 10, 10:30, 11, and went back out Sunday night every week. That's what we did. So it was a pretty tough life. I was a single guy then, but pretty tough. The line haul structure nowadays is a whole lot better. Those guys work hard now, no doubt about it. I mean, they got a different set of challenges than we have running local. But I did regional work with Southeastern for a long time, where I would just fly in, drive in, take equipment, whatever they needed, to different terminals and work local in those terminals. We've got 89 terminals in 13 states now, and I've worked in approximately 40 of them. So I've had opportunity to do a lot of traveling, and but the highlight of my career, I think, is being able to be involved in things where I'm able to talk to other people about sharing the road with trucks and highway safety. And I know I saw where a bunch of guys were in some high schools this past week, talking to high school kids about sharing the road and operating safely around trucks. And I think that is our greatest audience is high school students, high school seniors and juniors that are just starting to drive. They listen really well, and be able to go out and do that and talk to people about what our needs are on the highway, and hopefully make our jobs a little bit better and make the highway safer. I mean, every one of us have the desire to get home safe every night, and who you don't know whose family's going to be riding in that car beside you. So, we know the deal with that. But I've had the opportunity to work with the South Carolina Trucking Association for, me and my wife were talking about it last night. I don't even know how many years I've been doing that, but they've been very gracious and let me do some events. I got an event coming up next month in Orangeburg to go take a truck and talk to people about highway safety there. So those things have been great. Southeastern has been very gracious, allowing me to travel and do these things. And, people ask me all the time when I'm going to retire. And I'm 66 years old now, and I'm just not ready to retire. And as long as I can still do these events where you're able to go out and talk to people and the public and try to make the highways a little safer place. That keeps me going. Herschel's safety drive in Atlanta every year, man. It's just a great event. It's a blast. I look forward to it every year. We're able to do our Special Olympics truck convoy in Columbia every year, coming up in August this year. And, those things are what drives me to be able to continue to be in the industry, and working for a great family company like I do just makes it even better. But one of the things that I didn't want to not mention was we didn't start pulling twin trailers in South Carolina and Georgia and North Carolina till I think it was 1983. And one of the pictures that I sent Tim, I don't think he has it, but it's a picture at our corporate office over in Columbia on I-20 of the original set of pups that the first set Southeastern ever got. And they got them hooked to a restored white 9000 on display at our corporate office over there. If you're on I-20 in Columbia, you'll see it. But the interesting story about that is those things, that first set of pups was presented to our owner, Mr. Bill Castles, in Atlanta in 1983. He had flown over there in his helicopter to do a safety awards dinner in the shop in Atlanta. And they rolled those things out and presented them to him as our first set of pups. And the employees at Southeastern actually bought those for him. And man, he was so impressed. Like I said, we only had 13 terminals at the time. He flew back home. He had a Class A license. He flew back home, packed a bag, hooked those pups up, and drove them to every service center that we had operating at the time to personally thank everybody. That's the kind of guy that I work for. That's the family that I work for. But just had a lot of opportunities through the years that I'm very blessed to be able to do what I do. And still I run a regular pedal route every day, and we work hard. We move a lot of freight around. We load and unload, but I feel like it keeps you in shape and keeps you going. But like I said, my story's not real flashy because I don't have a father and a grandfather that was in trucking, but I guess I kind of got started into it because someone dangled the money out there, and that's what got me started in it.
Right. Well, hey, I learned a lot just then. I mean, wow. That's all I can say is wow. And, going back, I have a lot of respect for Southeastern. I've watched this company over the years, and, I've been in the trucking industry for over 30 years. And this company has always maintained good equipment, and they've always treated their employees well. And I've always heard about the family atmosphere that Southeastern has. And I believe that, sometimes the bigger companies they lose that part of it. I mean, I worked for a company before. I mean, it was really family oriented, but anyway, I want to go into that. But anyway, I applaud you for that. I mean, that you work for a great company.
They are. And, it's as we've grown through the years, you have some growing pains naturally, and you do see a lot of changes. But at the end of the day, that culture, that's the word right there. That culture is still there. I got guys I work with in my terminal that's been there 40. I've been there 47. Next guy's been there 45. Just had 3 guys retire here recently that all had bumping 40 years there. So it's not unusual for drivers to stay there for a long time because it's a good family atmosphere.
Right. Yeah, I used to run up and down the highway at nighttime with a guy from Southeastern, and he was there for years and years and years, and he said he just loved it. I'm trying to remember what his Redman was the sandal.
Oh, yeah.
He was out of Valdosta. You remember Redman?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
He and I ran together. But anyway, go ahead, Steve.
Okay, you said the money brought you there, working the dock. And then you got the opportunity to go out in the yard and play around with the truck. Is that it? I mean, had you ever had any interest in driving a truck prior to this?
No, but I think what really drove that was we not only worked the dock, unloaded all the freight coming in every morning, and loaded all the routes out, but as a lot of companies were, LTL companies were, we were real big in the grocery warehouse freight, unfortunately. And we had two big grocery warehouses in Charleston, and they would take dock workers when we finished on the dock, or even before we were finished, and you'd have to go to those grocery warehouses and stack freight. And again, everything was on the floor back then. I can tell you how many cases of Similac were on a 45-foot trailer every time we took them over. There's 898 cases, and it weighed 40,000 pounds. And we'd have to stack that stuff, stack it on pallets, however they said they wanted it, knee high, waist high. But we did that. But a lot of the guys drove to those warehouses. They were 7-8 miles from the terminal, but I always rode in the truck because I knew those guys that drove their car, when they got finished, they would just call the terminal, they'd punch them out and they'd go home. But I knew it was going to be an hour or two before they sent someone to get that empty. So I'd ride it with the driver over there, I guess, again, for the money, because I made more hours that way. But I just kind of got really interested in it because I was riding with those guys, and seeing what they were doing. And, you recognize really early on that it's a challenging job, but it's never boring. There's always something new, And I'm gonna tell you, the reason I really got interested in the safety side of this was I was coming back from Walterboro. It's a town south of us, about 35 miles, and we ran single axles until the middle 80s. We never had a twin screw until the middle 80s. And I think North Carolina finally caught up with us on our weights on that and changed that. But anyway, I had that cab over white I was talking about, single axle, had old 250 Cummins in it, 10-speed. And I was coming back from Walterboro on a 2-lane road, probably a 40,000 pounds on the thing, going back to the terminal. And this car, you know how they do when they come from a side road and you just start slowing down and saying, don't do it.
Exactly.
They pulled right out in front of me. I mean, I could see in the back window, a kid had a teenager looking at a thing like he was scared to death. And man, I was trying to wheel that thing down, and there's no way I could stop. And just barely missed him. And just the look on that kid's face when that happened, that's really what got me started. And someone needs to tell our story about our stopping distance and what it takes for us to operate around cars. So that was really that's been 30 years ago, And,
right.
Fortunately, Southeastern has given me the opportunity to do that through many avenues,
Right. Yeah, that just put a pit in my stomach. Listen to you tell the story, because we've all been there and done that.
Yeah.
And with that being said, is so many of these guys are diving on the shoulder now. They're running right to that hour, taking that break right on the shoulder.
Yep.
When they come off a shoulder, they just come off
right out.
Right out in front of you. Man, I just,
Steve, that's a good point, because I think we're all guilty, especially if we've been doing this a long time. We're really guilty of seeing a guy do something that's not real smart, whether it's on the highway or even at a dock situation. And it's real easy just to sit there and say, man, that guy, he doesn't know what he's doing. But a lot of times there's an opportunity to help him out. And
yes,
I really think that's one of our biggest challenges, is not only the motoring public out there, but other drivers. So many new, inexperienced drivers on the road now. I think that's a challenge for us to be able to help those guys out too. I really do.
Yes, most definitely. Get that word out to all the new drivers,
So Jeff, are you on a set pedal run now? You go to the same area, or are you pedaling in different areas?
I go to the same area every day. It's a lot of small towns. Typical day, I'll run pickups and deliveries, 20 stops, and around 200 miles a day. And a lot of it's repeat customers. You naturally have your oddball stuff every day. We do a lot of residentials, but I got 3 cement plants. a big landfill, and a big power plant on my route, and they get freight religiously almost every day. So I got a lot of regular customers, and that's the other thing that keeps me going is you develop relationships with your customers. They're almost like family. I mean,
Right.
and you've been doing this so long, you go to weddings and you go to funerals, and it's part of your family. And that's another reason I still like what I do.
Right. Right.
That's a good
And
question, Jim.
and that's what I was going to get at is that you established a customer relationship over the years. I mean, 47 years. I mean, I'm looking back. I took some notes here. Back in 1976. Okay, you started out making $1.75 an hour.
$6.
Oh, $6 and
I got
75.
a raise. That's what brought me to the industry.
Okay, all right. Well, $6.75 an hour. Wow. I just look back on that and look, where we're at today and how
Yep.
far we've all come. And I'm like, it's good. And of course, everything this day and time is cost a lot more, of course, So, but, back in 1976, I mean, what was I doing in 1976? I think I was running around with training pants on, to be honest with you. Somewhere along there. I ain't trying to make you feel old, but that's back in the day, But
but a lot of things have changed for the better. I mean, y'all know yourself, the equipment that we have nowadays is great. I mean, it's just a matter of fact, I got some of our drivers in our terminal. You start talking about what we used to drive, and they say, I ain't working with that air conditioning. I'm not driving that, So
Right.
it's I'm not saying we're tough guys or anything, but it's just a different breed of guys back then. The kind of work that you had to do.
right.
I mean, we all got pallet jacks now, and that we take with us every day. And you had a hand truck. That was it.
Right. Can you imagine the amount of steps you did back then if you would have had a step, whatever they call that, on your phone or on your side, I mean, can you imagine? I mean, you said it was what, 898 cases, how many trips you make back and forth, back and forth.
Well,
Wow.
there's a lot of benefits to the job too, though, because y'all both know that if you run in a line haul situation, one of your biggest challenges is maintaining your weight and staying healthy. You've
Right.
got to get in some kind of a routine where you do that deliberately. And
Yes, sir.
if you don't, it's just unhealthy. But good thing about what I do is I climb in and out of the back of that trailer 35 times a day, and a lot of pulling, a lot of lifting, and that's another benefit to my age being active like that. I really think it is.
So Jeff, I want to touch on this right here. And you are what did you say? You're 66, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, so 66. So tell me, how old was you when you actually started in the industry? How old was you?
19.
19 years old. So this is all you've ever known, right?
Yeah, I graduated high school, and I knew I wasn't going to college, and I got a job at a warehouse working for a short time, and just really didn't like it, and went to work with my dad. He had a marine electronics business.
You're
But I
right.
kind of recognized real early on that there wasn't a lot of revenue there to support two families, And when the opportunity came along to make $6 an hour, that was bottom line. That's what I did,
Right.
And that's where it all started with me,
So from a 19-year-old young man to a 66-year-old seasoned, how have you really seen the industry change in your life over the period of your career?
Well, the one of the biggest things is the equipment, naturally, and I mean the biggest trailer we used to have was a 45-foot trailer, and I think they were 92 inches wide, and I pull a 53 lift gate on my route most days now, and it's 98 inches wide, and it's a whole lot bigger trailer, a whole lot more equipment. You get more freight on it, but so much has changed for the better. Again, the equipment, the palletized freight. You don't have a whole lot of stops every day where you're breaking pallets down. You have some, but most of your freights get to the back of the truck and they unload it with a forklift, or you get it down on a lift gate. So the equipment, that's one of the biggest things. And I really think that's why guys didn't make it past 25, 30 years working before, is because their bodies just got wore out, you know. And I got the guys I still work with. They've had shoulder replacements, knee replacements, and I just been blessed. I'll be honest with you, I've just been blessed. I haven't had any of those issues, so and I'm really grateful for that.
Right. Got anything, Steve?
Just out of curiosity, you was in the industry when deregulation hit. What did that do for the LTL?
Well, and I'll give you an example. We couldn't haul freight prior to deregulation in Georgia. Anything we picked up in Atlanta, you know how big Atlanta is. Anything we picked up in Atlanta had to go to the Carolinas or North Carolina. That's where we ran. We picked up no intrastate freight in Georgia because we didn't own the rights to it. Southeastern actually bought the rights prior to deregulation from Smith's Transfer, which was a division of MR&R, and we blew up. We blew up then. I was actually working down in Albany, Georgia, because they needed help down there. The first night they moved freight from Atlanta inside Georgia to points in Georgia, they expected one more trailer load of freight in Albany coming out of Atlanta. First night they had 6 trailer loads. After 4 nights, they've got 25 trailers sitting on the yard, nobody to work them. So we were all having to go into Albany and these other terminals to work freight and go run freight. But yeah, that's a good question, Steve, because man, it just blew us up big time. I mean, especially in the Georgias. I mean, that's Atlanta's such a big hub, you know, it's unbelievable. But it had a big effect on the industry and our growth too. But
Right.
you know how many companies went out of business. And that's another good thing I just can't say enough about Southeastern is the way they manage their affairs. And
Yeah.
they work us really hard. I mean, we're accountable for what we do every day as far as our time, and we're on a computer for production. But you know, that pays dividends. And Southeastern's debt free. You know, that says a lot about them.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Now, go ahead, Tim.
No. Go ahead. I was fixing transition somewhere else. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Real quick, you said you guys are only in 13 states?
Correct.
But you do interlining, correct?
Yes.
'Cause you
Partnerships.
guys-
Yeah,
you
we have
guys,
relationships with specified companies all over the country.
right,
And then
right. Because
Canada.
I've seen your trailers up north here,
Yeah.
and I know you guys ain't up this far, but
Right.
I know you interline with
Yeah,
people.
we got a deal with out of Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. They use our equipment and we use theirs, coming in out of Charlotte.
Right.
We've also got our own terminal in Puerto Rico as well.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So tell me, Jeff, where is your home office at?
Columbia, South Carolina.
Columbia, South Carolina.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
All right. So let's transition into this. I want to speak to some pictures that I've got up here. So if you can see what's on the screen there, tell us about this. I've actually seen this live and in person.
Is that right? Yeah,
Well, I've seen a set of doubles, not this.
yeah, that is a set of doubles. You just can't see it in the picture.
Okay, I got you.
That's we call that the Mighty Mite, and that's a Kenworth. It's half scale. Everything works on it. The airlines, everything is handmade. You can drive it. It's got a 4-cylinder Mercedes diesel in it with a 4-speed or 5-speed transmission. But they use it for not too much anymore, but they used to use it a lot for shows and promotions and safety. And I actually had that at the Special Olympics truck convoy in Columbia probably 7-8 years ago. Had it on display up there then. And that's a really, really cool thing right there. It's actually built by the owner of Pie, and they sold it when they went out of business. Mr. Castles, my owner, bought it at that time.
I've actually seen that at the Georgia TDC, and you might have been driving it, and it was kind of funny to me because they had the motor compliance officer behind you with the lights on. Was it? You remember that, Jeff?
I wasn't there in Georgia with that. No.
Okay, somebody had it there in
Yeah,
Georgia.
they've got a few drivers, specified drivers that are trained to drive it and to load it and unload it. It has its own trailer, and I've had it out in Texas and several places, and they're getting to the point where they don't really do a whole lot with it anymore because it's so valuable. You know,
And everybody knows who this guy is right here. Tell us where this picture was taken at.
that picture was taken at the safety drive for a Cure and Herschel Evans event in Atlanta, Georgia. And I'd never met John prior to going over there one year. I think I met him the year before. And man, the best guy in the world. And, he was a selfie king. Everybody knows that. And that's one of my favorite pictures in the world right there.
Right. I've got a picture just like that, with me and him. And then I know everybody that knows him got a picture like that, and John was just, he was bigger than life, and
Absolutely.
just a great guy. He was actually my mentor when I went out.
How about that? Cool.
Yep. And he just a great guy there. Let's move on to the next picture. And I'll go ahead and say this. I mean, every time I see a picture, he's dearly missed.
Yes, sir.
Now tell us about this picture here. I had to snag this one off of Facebook because the other ones I couldn't put up.
That's my better half. Absolutely. We all have a better half. That's mine. Her name is Paula, and that was taken in Bryson City, North Carolina.
Okay. How long have y'all been married, Jeff?
Now, see, you're going to ask a trick question now, but I happen to know. I happen to know that this year's 25 years.
Okay. All right. I was going to say, I might be getting you in trouble if you don't know.
No. I'm on my toes with that.
You better know it there, right? All right. Let's talk about this man right here.
I tell you, man, that's my dad, Harold Wade. He grew up, he's born in 1930, the height of the Depression. He grew up in the poor part of Georgia. His folks were sharecroppers, and just the epitome of humbleness, and the most devout Christian man you'll ever know. Give you the shirt off his back in a heartbeat, but just amazingly intelligent. To grow up in that area of Georgia, not have two nickels to rub together, literally, and to graduate high school, went into the Air Force. He was non-commissioned in the Air Force. He decided he's an electronics genius. That's what he did in the Air Force, and decided that he wanted to be a pilot. And there was a slim chance back in the late 50s, early 50s, to go from non-commissioned to commission by taking some tests and passing these tests. It was called the Aviation Cadets Program. And very small percentage of people were able to do it. Well, he accomplished that, and he became a Air Force fighter pilot and a trainer pilot for the rest of his career in the Air Force. And just one of my best friend right there, I'm telling you. That's all I can say.
Wow. I never knew that, so I'm glad you shared that with us. So he was a fighter pilot in the Air Force. Wow. So I want to go back to this. What part of Georgia did he grow up in?
Over in the near Athens in Commerce, Georgia, out in Danielsville, out near Commerce and Athens.
I got you. And I knew that you had a fond relationship with your dad because I've seen pictures before and all. And I actually do remember whenever, you posted on Facebook. I do believe it's been a while back whenever he passed, and I knew that was
actually, I was actually supposed to be at the South Carolina TDC in 2019. And he had multiple strokes the Thursday night prior to us going to Columbia on Friday, and he passed away that Friday night. But sound mind till the day he took his last breath. He knew exactly where he was and knew exactly where he was going.
Wow, that's awesome. And you got some great memories there to look back on. And,
absolutely.
And I mean this with all my heart. He did a good job of raising you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate it. I appreciate that. And that's who you can blame it on right there. I promise.
It's his fault, right?
I'm just curious, what did he say whenever you went in and told him you was quitting so you go to work for Southeastern?
He kind of expected it because his business was, I'll give you an example. He repaired trolling motors and depth finders. And back then in 75, 76, a trolling motor might cost $200 and a repair on one might be $60 and you actually made $12 on it,
Right.
You do a lot of repairs to generate a lot of revenue. And we knew that he had his Air Force retirement. He run the business. He put everything back into business. But I wasn't trying to get rich, but I just knew that there was enough there for two families,
Right. Exactly.
Well, Jeff, I don't want to really. I know you don't. You did tell us that you don't like to pat yourself on the back at all or anything like that. But I do want to ask you a little bit about some of your, over the years, your TDC experiences. Have you ever been to nationals?
One time, I actually only started competing in 2017, and
I did not know that.
Yeah, it's kind of strange because what I really learned a lot about the TDCs was by becoming America's Road Team captain.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized when I was fortunate enough to make that most drivers' avenue to America's Road Team was through TDCs.
Mm-hmm.
And mine wasn't. And but anyway, I kind of got involved because of that. And I participated 2017, 2018, supposed to 2019 and didn't. 2020 and 21 was COVID and went back in 22. And so that was my fourth year actually competing and was fortunate enough to win the twins class and went to the nationals last year.
Okay. All right. See, I did not know that. I did not realize. I thought you've competed I've been competing since 2001, and I thought, well, I just thought you've competed. But
So
you've always had. Have you always had something to do with the TDC?
Yeah, I used to go. You know how they do the transport police or DOT competition side by side?
Yep.
Right.
I always went and helped them.
Okay.
I would be there and I'd be the driver in the truck when they're doing their level 3 inspection, that kind of stuff.
And you was always at the TDC. That's the reason I thought you was just always a part of it.
Right. And I never competed because I was just always helping.
Yeah.
And then got to meeting folks like y'all and some of the other guys that competed, and that was like part of their lifestyle. So, man, I need to try this out,
Right. Exactly.
It's a great camaraderie, great camaraderie. You really love the family atmosphere of that. It's really good.
It is. It is. I mean, this is what I was explaining to the rookies, several rookies I talked to this past weekend. Once you're here, you will meet these folks. You'll exchange numbers, and you've got a family for life.
That's right.
You go anywhere in the state, you look them up, they're there. You'll come back next year, and that's your goal, is to get back there next year to see that family. You want to see your friends, you want to see your family. But it's TDC's really changed me a lot. Like I said, somebody said, how'd you do? I said, I was there. I was there. I don't know where I was at, but I was there. Jeff, what year was you on the road team?
2011, 2012.
11 and 12.
Yeah, with a lot of guys that you'll recognize, Nate McCarty and all those guys.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We actually had, that's one of the reasons I wasn't involved in TDCs, because we had 4 guys from South Carolina that were on my team. And we had 33 guys nominated nationwide. 4 of us were South Carolina: Kenny Lyerly, Dennis Martin, Willie Atkinson, and myself. And we were all finalists, and we all were selected on that team. And I think the reason for that is because we were so involved with the South Carolina Trucking Association, doing what they do, going out and doing events and public speaking. So, but that was why I was surprised that most of the guys' avenue to the America's Road Team was through the TDCs.
Right.
I just opened up the phone line, so if you guys want to try to call in, you can call in at 251-616-2151. I'm hoping that the phone lines will work, but if y'all got a question for Jeff before we go off the air, we'll try to get one or two questions in there. Jeff, your experience with the road team, tell us a little bit about that.
Man, I tell you, I was fortunate enough to do a lot of events, and so much of it is, like I said earlier, is going and doing high schools, taking a truck to a high school and actually letting the kids, students sit in the truck and see exactly what you're trying to explain to them. And
Right.
man, I just love that. You know what I'm going to say. I'm going to say this. I got to do the Billings event, and
Yeah. With Frank Moldecki over there.
yeah, I did, and me and Steve Fields went and did that. And man, it's just a great time. But going and that and going to the state capitals and talking to the legislators and those are just such good opportunities. I think when they hear what we have to say about what we have to deal with on the highways, I think it resonates with them more than any other way. You got a driver telling them this is an issue, and I think they listen to you.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
And I love it when we go to the high schools and you can get that kid. My main focus when I'm there is to get that kid in that seat so that he or she can see what we don't see, and I love to see their eyes when we say, yeah, there is a car or a pickup on that right side there.
That's right.
And when they get down on the ground and go and look at it, it's like, wow, that is there. How'd you do that? That's a blind spot you need to know about.
You're right.
Yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm taking a truck to Orangeburg, about 50 miles away from here, for an event in July. It'll be 500 people there, a lot of young kids, and just taking a truck there to do the same thing there. So there'll be a lot of opportunities there.
Right.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I always take them, put them between the truck and the trailer and say, okay, you see that car there? You see that semi there? I'm going to make it disappear. And they look at you like, no way. They get up in the truck, and, I go through the routine. I said, now look over. Where'd it go? What'd you do with it? I said, I ain't done nothing with it. I mean, you've been watching me. I've been standing here, But that's the main thing. You can talk till you're blue in the face, but until you get them in that truck and let them get a visual on it, I mean, that's the way to do it. And like you said, I believe that when you talk to the legislators, they hear it coming from you, and they hear the passion in our voices. They see the passion in our eyes. It's a deep concern. We got to get that safety out there. But real quick,
especially if you could take it for a ride.
Yeah, exactly. And I had that opportunity to take 4 state representatives over in Illinois, and the difference that I believe that I made in them was outstanding.
That's good.
I mean, it just gotta have that opportunity. It's a great opportunity, and anytime I can talk to kids, don't matter. I can be at Walmart, and something will spark me, and I'll just start talking.
That's right.
And just start talking to them. So
that's right.
But that's awesome. That's awesome. So you do a lot with Southeastern then?
Well, yeah, it's kind of hit or miss. Probably, if I had to guess, is a couple, 3 things a year, with them, and a lot of it's initiated by the South Carolina Trucking Association.
Right.
And, they're getting ready to do another nomination to get a new road team. They haven't had a new road team in a lot of years. I don't know how many, but there's a few of us that she's just always called on if we could do stuff, and I've been there since 05, I think. But
right.
But I'm always game to help out whenever I can, as long as Southeastern will let me, and I'll go and help them with events, banquets and things like that, just because I like being around the people,
Right. Exactly.
Yep. Well, we are closing in on 8:55, and we try to end the show, about 9 o'clock, because we know everybody's got to go to work tomorrow. We got to get our proper rest and, all that kind of good stuff. So it's actually been a, great having you on here, Jeff. And let me ask you this. Was Don Logan on your team?
No, I can't remember what year he was, but I actually went to Kansas City, and me and him and Byron Bramwell did
Oh
the
Lord, fire.
Kansas schools, and that was one of their first events over there. I took the image truck over there, and we did 3 high schools in 3 days over there, and that was a blast, man. Matter of fact, I think I sent that picture to you, but you couldn't get it up and running.
Yeah, I did
Yeah.
have it, and I just could not get it over. Put it
No,
over there.
Don's a class act, man, and Byron, class act too. But I got to say one more thing real quick before you go.
Yeah, go ahead.
I got a guy that made a comment on the Facebook page about he's a real jokester about why don't you get someone that really works for a living? That's old Brent Darnell. And,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Some of us just have to do what we have to do. We can't ride around on the truck all night. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah. And just ride around the truck, go to the hotel and lay down and go running, right?
Exactly.
But Brent Darnell, if you're out there, touche.
That's right. Exactly.
Oh man. Hey, I do have a comment or two I want to put on the screen here. And I'll tell you who this is from. They didn't give permission to put their name through the app there, but I think that this was Ben Ingersoll. He says Fish was a huge help to California. For the first time in UPS history in Cali, we have 3 gentlemen members bed on to go on to nationals to help. Thanks to the help of Fish, basically. Miguel, Tim, and Paul. You recognize that comment there?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Yeah, I do.
Who's Fish?
Jim Fisher.
Oh,
Fisher. Yeah.
I was like, I thought this was directed at Jeff. I'm sorry, Jeff. I thought this was directed at you.
Yeah, when I made the comment that Jim Fisher was watching there, and he couple of the guys there that he named have all stepped across to the Buster Brown side, and they're making a difference over there on the TDC. Speaking of TDCs, it somebody posted on there 295 drivers in Florida.
Woo.
Almost 300 drivers.
That will be Chuck
Low. Unusual.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
We appreciate that, Chuck Lowsinger. We appreciate you listening in. A couple other comments that we got on here was from Scott Post. Scott is a loyal listener and a loyal supporter of the show. And he said, Armstrong steering is good. You learn to back efficiently and very fast. I want to say, Scott, thank you. I've seen the pictures. He does touch of trucks, and he has a little display on the catwalk of his truck with some green grass and a road and some cars and trucks on there, and it's talking about moving over safely, for law enforcement. But he did us a favor this week. He actually made a billboard to put on the side of that little thing to scale for the show. So thank you, Scott, for doing that. He's supporting Truckers' Voices there. So we appreciate all our support out there.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Appreciate it. Appreciate it a lot.
I'll tell you one more thing about Southeastern before we go.
Okay.
40 years safe driving. They gave me a Rolex watch.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
Yeah.
You want to sell it?
Wow.
Price is right.
Oh, I'll go ahead and say that there's somebody on here named Randy Thomas. Do you recognize that name? No, he said Grace listening to Jeff talk, and then just several different people. David Young was watching tonight, and all these other guys, Chuck Jernigan. But anyway, we got to wrap the show up. Jeff, this is the post-trip part of the show, as I call it. And what we always do here is we let our guests give a safety message. And I guess my question to you is, what would you tell a young person that's coming into the industry? What advice would you give them as far as getting into the industry and safety?
Well, I'll tell you the same thing I told the truck driving school when I first started the America's Road Team, the graduates over there. I told them, I said, the truck you're going to be driving very possibly could weigh 80,000 pounds. I said, people are going to do things in cars around you that are going to aggravate you and make you mad. And I said, there's nothing you can do about it.
That's right.
You can't catch them. There's nothing you can do about it. Smile and let them go and do what you know you've got to do to be safe. And the young people, especially, our biggest issue, I think, right now is distracted driving. Put the phone down, put it down, put it down. Is so much grief is caused by just not paying attention to that road and what you're doing.
Absolutely. And Jeff, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story with us tonight and your insights on the trucking industry. I've thoroughly enjoyed the conversation. So if you'll hang around until we go off the air, I'll talk to you on the other side.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Yep. Just hang on just for a minute. Steve, what do you got to say?
Safety starts as soon as them feet hit the floor first thing in the morning. It's an all-day process. And just remember, the most important trip is that trip home. Y'all be safe.
Absolutely. We'll see you guys here next week. We'll have another special guest. I'll announce it as soon as we get concrete lined up. But anyway, I can tell you right now, I agree with everything that Jeff said. I agree with everything that Steve said. And you know what? It's time to slow down. It's time to just, be a rolling role model for the motoring public around us. And as I always say every morning, is we got to look out for those, because there's plenty of those people that's not looking out for themselves. All right, y'all go to Apple Podcast and y'all go to Spotify if you want to see the show. This show will be aired again in the morning at 9 a.m. And we'll see you here next week on Truckers' Voices. Panel, hang around. I'll be right back with you.
Thank you, fellas.
Good boy.